They'll just decide we're not doing this. Oh god damn it! OBS is disconnecting over and over and over again. I have no idea why.
So when is it 24-hour collaborative Minecraft stream event?
Tomorrow. Definitely tomorrow.
Real shit. Christmas stream?
Christmas stream! I don't know how to make this any less laggy.
You pray to whatever god you believe in.
Here, hold on. I have... Okay, so I shrunk it a little bit. I'm coming back live in like 10 seconds. 5 seconds. I think.
I keep being a fucking little skid on my girl. Fuck.
Am I live? I think I'm live.
I've got notification yet. Yes, you're alive.
Hold on, I haven't posted this to Discord. What the fuck am I doing? I'm an idiot.
Where's the Discord?
Drawer server.
Ah.
This is like the biggest server that I'm in. That I have like that I'm friends with like most of the people anyways.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Cause I'm in the server, but like I know like nobody there besides you. If you're even in it.
I am not. Oh, I need to rejoin it. For the record, I need to rejoin your server as well. But, that's a topic I'm not ready to have. Maybe it is, who knows?
Who knows?
This is why I asked you just like slide me an invite on that one.
Let me see how many viewers I have. I probably still have yep, I'm still at one. Not chat. Yep, it's just me. Yep, it's just me. But at least I'm live. So I'm going to start whatever, like, I think YouTube archives all of my streams anyways. If they don't, like, whatever.
It does. It should, anyway.
Okay, so do you want historical AI focus on or off? Since you're, like, the only person I'm talking to.
Off.
Off? There we go.
Let's use some wacky shit at them.
Hold on. I had to delete all these fucking saves off my computer. Because I'm not playing them ever again. Because my computer gets way too laggy at a certain point in the game. Because at a certain point, you get so many men, so many troops, that my computer just starts to lag. Like, not like it doesn't, like, it's not like it doesn't lag already, but it gets really bad.
Yeah, it lags harder.
Yeah, like, super hard. I really love this game, if you can't tell. Like, I watched it for years before I got this, before I got the game myself.
How much is it?
There's a sale right now, so I have no idea. I'd have to check Steam. But yeah. It shouldn't be too expensive, I don't think, especially with the sale. But I think normally, it's between $30 and $60, I think.
That's a very wide range.
It is, but I can't remember. Cause I bought this game for like $13 during like a spring sale on Steam with like some DLC. So that's what I'm saying, like, I don't remember the price. It's also like really, it's also constantly getting updates. Like, it's old. This don't get me, this isn't a new game either. It's an old game. Like, and it's still getting updates and DLC and everything. makes a good effort to try and just like make a game like live as long as it can before they make a new game. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you one of my games. Um, I think Estonia went, was it communist or fascist without my help, and like I couldn't recognize them because like their name wasn't Latin. It was like Terra, like it meant like um something like land next to the sea or some shit. Okay, so now you get to see where the fun begins, which is research. Research, 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 research. That's not it. That's not enough. Okay, so I have those that and this. If you want to tell how fucked a country is, you just need to look at the research tree. For example, Poland doesn't even have basic infantry support. Uh, like we don't have machine guns or anything. Or well, we have machine guns, but they're not good. Um, we also don't have engineers. Oh, funniest thing about Poland, we don't know how to build trucks. We don't know how to build trucks. They're a secret to us. We don't know how to build trucks. Our tanks are from 1918. We don't start with any modern tanks. Our artillery's fine. Oh yeah, I never got to look. Poland, like, if you play as Poland, like, you're never gonna get into the naval game because you have one province that has access to the sea, and that's, well, two. You have two provinces, but they're both in Danzig, so they're effectively just, one. So your navy's never gonna really matter. Let's see. Planes. We don't need planes. We need guns. We need that. Wow, Poland's subject to a lot more factories than I remembered. So we need guns, we need support equipment. As for our navy, let's make submarines. Like shitty submarines. Okay, civilian factories. Civilian factories are what allows us to just build shit. Usually, if you're playing multiplayer, you usually don't bother building more civilian factories because the game starts to go really, really quickly. However, I am playing against the AI, so I am planning for the long game. So I'm going to build, I don't know, like 3 different factories and then get back to building more military factories. You can also build infrastructure, air bases, and anti-air guns. So every province has a certain amount of slots of stuff they can put in. The only thing that doesn't matter for how many slots are left are forts, bases, so both naval and air bases, infrastructure, and anti-air. Infrastructure determines how many slots everything has and how much supplies a certain region can get. Oh, and we don't even know how to make synthetic oil. Like that's how far behind Poland is. Like most every other nation has synthetic oil unlocked. So we have, so as I said, like Poland's like new tree isn't, it's better than the generic tree, but it's still not amazing because it's just like research bonuses. It's like a one-time research bonus for like a generic thing. You don't get any what is it called, any CBs, which is casus belli, which is like cause for war or reason for war, I guess.
Apparently Nobu's in Regalia lost now.
Apparently what?
Nobu is in Regalia lost now.
Nice. Another thing about this game, you have generals can only hold so many troops. You can't just assign like about like You can't just assign like your entire army's worth of or your entire nation's worth of soldiers to one dude and just uh, do it from there. You can only hold up to 24 if they're doing like proper military duty, or 72 if you're just surprised. Then they lose. Then they lose their special combat bonuses. Like for example, this guy is a trickster, which means he gets a 25% bonus to reconnaissance. That would go away if you had like say 25 divisions with him. You would lose that, and I think they also lose efficiency over their skills. Pretty sure that's how that works. And then, like, if you're playing as Germany, like, you have like about 1,000,000 generals. That doesn't matter. But as Poland, we're not so fortunate to have really fucking good generals at the start of the game. Like we have like this guy has like 30%. Oh, that's right. Okay, so there's another thing. Field marshals can be generals, or you can assign them over a group, and a group can have up to 5 generals in it. And field marshals, much like generals, they have their own special bonuses. For example, the field marshal I just chose gives every single one of my generals within his command a 30% entrenchment bonus. So that's pretty fucking nice.
It sounds like a lot of that game's math.
Well, it's about choosing carefully, essentially.
That makes sense. I mean, it is a strategy game.
Yeah. Um. Oh. Oh, they changed it. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, okay. So sorry. No, it's just like I haven't played this in forever, so they made some changes, or I never noticed it. And I am just the smart move would be just to set up a defensive formation, a defensive like line, a fallback line. But I am stupid.
Fair point. Also, I figured out why my car was hitting for like a windmill.
Why?
Your protection is only level 2.
Defensive doctrine. Oh, this is the.
I have level 4.
Okay, so yeah, you have.
Higher, but I have.
So they added this like much later on. It used to just be like you just had to like gain these through combat, but now you can actually choose um, when it comes to these general traits. Essentially, you have these earned traits. For example, invader, this general has to invade so many times before it gets that trait, which gives it bonuses to invasion, precision, and speed, etc., etc. And then it also goes into essentially a tree. Is increased by various different things. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's how you make your generals better. You have general traits, which are applied whenever you send them to an army, and then you have field marshal traits, which are applied to everyone within that field marshal group. And then there's also terrain traits, meaning that if you fight long enough in a certain terrain, you can get bonuses for fighting in that terrain. And then if you get if you get like one of them, you can get or two. My bad. If you get two of these terrain traits, you get adaptable, which makes it so your troops don't suffer as much from terrain, extreme heat, and extreme cold. However, the most important one for our purposes is going to be winter specialist and winter expert, because that lets us not take as much attrition when it's winter. Also, I think OBS just stopped streaming again. Whoops, I pressed the wrong thing.
Okay, let's see if these code changes make a difference. Hopefully they should.
They should. Can I press? If I have. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Also, funny enough, we don't start with any tank divisions, but we do start with a guy who has who's a panzer leader. It's hilarious. Also, they added a new thanks to the one of the second latest DLC now, I guess. They added a like fuel is no longer infinite essentially. It used to be that if you had oil like at all, like you didn't even need like you could have zero oil imported or produced or anything, and the only thing that would slow down is the actual making of the tanks or the planes or the boats. Like it didn't actually affect how much you could use your current tanks, planes, and boats. But now you actually have a silo essentially of how much fuel your nation can have. Um, and depending on how much oil you have is how much fuel you get. So, for example, if you play as Germany, you have like no fuel. So you import from, say, the USSR, who has a lot of fuel, specifically in the Ukraine area. Which is what I do whenever every single time I play as Germany. I just import a lot of oil from the USSR to make sure that I can make my fleet like exercise, so they're not just like shitty, so they know how to shoot and everything. Because that's the thing in this game. There's also like experience levels, um, which is these symbols right here, if you can see on the stream at all. But essentially, you have your green, you have your trained, you have regulars, and then you have veterans. Um, I think that's how it goes. Your green units suffer a 25% penalty to combat. Your trained units have a 0% penalty or buff. Like they don't get anything from battle. Um, your trained units get a 25% modifier in battle, and then your veteran units gets a 50% uh, bonus in battle. The only catch is that you can only exercise your units to become regulars used for making units. Speaking of units,
That's a neat mechanic. I like it.
yeah. Um, so if you're playing as like someone like Germany that has a massive industrial base, like you don't care, or the USA, like you don't care. However, us as Poland, we don't really have that sort of industry. We only have 28 total factories. 9 of those are military, 18 of those are civilian, and one of those is a naval dockyard. Um, Civilian factories are also what you use to trade off goods. So, for example, if I was to trade for oil, I would be exchanging one factory for one piece of oil. Um, and that country can use that factory to speed up building something else. It's essentially like coin, except if coin could actually work for you. For example, if I bought oil from Russia, uh, Stalin over here, factory, and then it goes vice versa. Although the best way, like that everybody agrees on how to get factories is just to conquer places. So if you conquer Germany, France, or Britain, all of which have like a lot of factories, like you're pretty set. Or even just the USSR. The USSR also has a lot of factories, just not enough for their massive fucking army.
Not have enough factories.
Well, let's see. Okay, so let's check out how many troops we have, right? So let's check on us. So we
You
have.
sound like a teacher right now.
I have like a what? Oh, like a teacher.
You
Yeah,
sound like you sound like a teacher.
yeah. I've watched enough of these. But the USSR starts with like something like 100 some odd troops. All of those need guns. All of those need uh, support equipment, or and in most cases artillery, and trucks later on, and it just you just need a lot of stuff, which is why the USSR doesn't bother, because they can't build enough factories fast enough to satisfy the needs of their massive fucking army. The inverse is true of Germany. Germany can build up to have all of their troops fully armed, to have trucks, artillery, tanks, everything by 1939. Um, However, they do not have the manpower to fight a war of attrition. Like they will, like 9 times out of 10, they will lose to the USSR. Like unless something weird, really weird happens, like the USA goes fascist or the United Kingdom goes fascist and just joins the Axis, or Germany goes communist and they join the Comintern. Oh, it's because I'm running the game at super slow. I mean, if I was playing by myself, I could probably do 5 speed, but apparently since I'm streaming, this is going to be like the slowest game of HOI4. This was a mistake. I forgot how fucking slow my computer is. But like, HOI4 happens between essentially all the Paradox games have like a time frame of where none of their other games like involve in without modding that is. So for example, EU4 is from like 1440 something up until 1820 or like 1835 or something like that. After that, you have to play Victoria 2, which happens from 1835 all the way to 1935, I think. So about 100 years. And then you have the HOI4 series, or the Hearts of Iron series, which is from 1939 to 19 like 50. Yeah, 1950 is the last time you get like tech. It's the last tech that you can get. And then before that you have Crusader Kings. I don't know the exact dates of that. And now we have Imperator Rome, which I think happens up until the fall of Rome in like 450, something like that. And of course, each different game has their strengths and weaknesses. And for example, Imperator Rome lets you just like auto siege, just like which is not a thing in this game. Like you don't just like sit on a province until you get it and it's automatically yours. No, you have to actually physically like send a troop there and it's yours. Like you don't just have to sit some troops into there. And there's no forts either. There's no like actual like city sieging or anything. You just take the city. Which is why in the early stages of Hearts of Iron 4, before they balanced any of this shit, if you played as Germany, you could have one paratrooper land on France, on Paris, and France would just capitulate instantly. They obviously fixed it now, so you have to put some effort. That's not gonna actually win you anything. Because the way this game calculates when a country will surrender is based on their stability. For example, Germany starts with a really high stability, 84%, meaning you need 84% of their victory points. Victory points are assigned to land, every single little tiny province, so essentially counties in the US, and cities. Every single city has a certain number. The bigger the city, the bigger the number. For example, Frankfurt over here is worth 20 points. Berlin is over here worth costs 50 points. Etc. etc. And I think like every single like land tile just costs like 1 victory point, maybe less. So in the case of the USSR, because they don't have very many like big cities. Like their cities are just like Moscow, Kiev, um, Sevastopol, um, Leningrad, etc. Like because they have so few big cities, you have to just take a lot of land. Like maybe like half of the Soviet Union, I think. Like up to this mountain range. I don't know the name of this mountain range. Or the Urals. Like up until like the Urals, and then they'll capitulate. Maybe more. Um, which is why it's a really pain in the ass because they can come back from just like anything. And then whereas France has like one of the lowest abilities in the game. It used to be like 10%. They used to start out with 10%, which is why you could just land one paratrooper in Paris, and you just instantly win. But now they're up to 50%. So to fix that issue, I don't think you can get below. You can't get below. You can't get below 10%, and you can't get above 90% stability. And
Makes
the
sense.
because otherwise, if you had 100% stability, like as Russia, like you just could never lose because you they would just take so long to just conquer all this like Serbian land that has like no infrastructure, and it would just take so long um, that you could just build more troops infinitely. Um, and then obviously you can't go down 10% because then that would mean that just taking like one little tiny piece of land would mean game over. I think who is it? Yugoslavia has like a has some weird events where like their prince just constantly parties like all the time, and everybody just gets mad about it. So like I think their stability tanks. Another thing about this game that affects how quickly you win or lose in a war is your war support. The higher it is, the more buffs you get essentially.
Okay.
These buffs range are all essentially how quickly you can build stuff, like military factory output, civilian factory output, and civilian output towards the world market. Like are how many are being used to export our resources into the market. The higher the war support is, the higher that number. The lower that those numbers are, the the lower those bonuses are, and you can get negative um, bonuses for those things. That's what happens as if you start as Germany. Like you have like super low war support, 35%. Um, so you just essentially just have to start out with the game making super slow production. Um, and it gets even worse with France. They only have like 15%. So they have a really big penalty to building anything like just like even just guns. Like they're having issues building. Yeah, even like the UK has like issues building stuff. Um, whereas us, we start out with like perhaps like the most neutral number, 50% war support. And then there is your manpower, which is effectively how many men you can recruit or can how many men you can recruit or field back in for your divisions. Um, the higher the number, obviously, the more men you can have, the more army you can have,
Yeah.
more units. There is a point where it'll warn you like, hey, you have low manpower. We start out with that. We start out with the pop up that says, hey, you have low manpower. Um, so that's not great. Um, Germany, I think, starts out with like, what's your? Can I check your population? Germany starts out with like a good chunk amount. Here we go. Yeah, they started with over a million